Hi everyone. So this is my fourth lecture, and this will be my last lecture during this week. I'm not going to send any more lectures, so please review the code and the slides. Probably the last slides from chapter 7 would be slides 21. So hopefully the week after, when I get back from conference, we can continue from slide 22. And also, I think I submit or I send kind of to go home or take home quiz. So please make sure you finish, you answer all the questions, and then submit it to Dropbox. So last time we talked about two events: load events and activate events. Load events, as soon as when you call a window and as soon as it loads in the memory, this event will fire up, and usually we use it for initialization of any control such as combo box. And activated is when window is in the memory, and then so that means it's in the memory, and perhaps you also it's began to render the interface, then activates event is just fires. So usually for our work we use load events rather than activate. It has its own other usage that's probably we're not going to use it here. The two next events that we're going to use is kind of similar to these two, but we use them when we close the window. One of them is form closing, and the other one is form closed. I'm going to explain both of them because both of them are pretty similar to that two previous events. Then I'm going to show you a demo, and in the demo there are several new features of the Visual Basic I'm going to introduce it to you. The first one is the form closing. Form closing is, as the slide states, is triggered when a form is closed. The closing here means basically you don't see the graphical interface, but the object is still in the memory. So the main usage of this window is to throw a message for the user to see whether, for example, when you close an application, you often see as a message box shows up and tells you, okay, are you sure you want to close, or are you sure you want to exit from this application? And based on your answer, yes or no, you can make decisions. So in those cases, we use form closing event. In form closing event, we also can use. I mean, again, this is probably beyond the scope of this class. For example, if you have some data that it's not saved, and you want to user make sure whether this data is saved or not, again, you can do that kind of error as well. Or for example, if you have a text file and it's open and user forgot to close that. So basically, it's kind of warning before exiting from program or particular window. The second one is closed. Closed is one step after closing. So after the closing event triggered, then closed is triggered. So that's the beginning of removing the window from memory. So if you would like to execute some specific code after you close the window, so you put your code there in this event. For example, you would like to set some variable for the parent window, for example, or you would like here to close some resources which is outside of your program, such as a database and so on and so forth. And so in those cases, you could use now let's see a couple examples for that. Since form closed is less important from closing, let me show you form closed first. So in in order to show you, I think that's easy enough, exactly same as previous one. Let me go to the main window. Then here I'm going to go to the event page or pane. Then we find out the form closed event. And then I'm going to put a message box here to exactly figure out when it gets called. Form closed events. So I'm going to close this window, form closed event, and everything is done. So remember, this is one step after form close. So although the window still you see that, but in fact it's not. It's the beginning of just removing everything from the memory. And there is another difference between them. Actually, one fundamental difference is I have to explain it next time, which is basically how when I explain how to pass the variable between two forms, then probably that closed and closing make more sense. But one of the, as I mentioned, one of the application of the form closing event is to checking and asking user if user wants to exit the program or not. So let me write some code for that, and I think that's interesting. To do that, I'm going going to the main window, and then so this time I'm going to use form closing. And remember, as slides also mentioned here, you cannot prevent the form from closing with the form closed event handler. And if you wish to do that, you have to use form closing event. So that's the main difference between two. So before I do that, let me take this one, Control C, Control X. I'm going to remove, or I can keep it there, I think, because I have to upload it. I'm going to comment it out. So let's do one test. And if I run this, okay, so that works. So that message box works. First things I would like to show you before even I go through that, I want to show you some of the capabilities that MessageBox has. If you remember, so I'm going to put a message here. Are you sure? So if I run this, so the question is, okay, if user wants to really keep this window, how you can do it? Because the problem here is this message box just contains OK button. First of all, OK probably doesn't imply yes or no, which is the answer of the are you sure. And second, even though if you keep OK, you need two buttons here. One of them, let's say yes, one of them is no, right? So and as you know, this message box is just predefined, and the question is how I can modify that. So first things we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we can modify this message box. If you remember, so show is a method or a function and has several different inputs. Each input is called overload. So we have 20 different overloads. So for example here, after that I can put another text here. This text denotes the caption message. So I can say my custom error. So let me run it quickly to show you what's the effect of this. I'm going to close this to fire this message box. So as you see, my custom error is there. Next things I can do, I can add some predefined buttons there. So for example, I can call this object messagebox buttons, And as you see here, there are several different type of button you can put there. So in this case, let's say I need yes and no. If you wish to put yes, no, and cancel, you choose the last one. So in my case, I'm going to choose yes and no. Okay. And let's say also I would like to put an icon also, a standard icon, message box icon dot error and different type of icons. So I'm going to put the question here. So now let me run this. You see the difference. Our message box basically looks more professional. That's nice. So I have the question mark here. I have my message question. I have yes no button. So that totally reflects the question of are you sure? And then I have a caption. So far so good. Now the question is how I can read this yes and no in order to give a proper answer to that. So for example, if are you sure the answer is yes, then I have to close the application. And if the answer is no, then I have to keep it. So right now, whatever I do is just close that, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to write some code here. So if you don't mind, I've already written that here. So let me copy it from this text file. So there is an object. So far we knew this is exactly the same as showing the window. If you recall, in order to show a window, we had to create an object from that, as we did here. So it was a class because the class name was message. So this is yet another built-in class, dialog results, and we create a variable from that. Okay. So next step would be, I'm going to add, actually I don't need to copy this part. So this, as soon as you click on yes or no, this show returns an object. So we can save this object inside the message. I'm able to save that because the type of the message box shows the result value is a dialog result. As you see here, so when I have it here, show, so it just explained that here. So the result is an so look at the end of the line. Before it just explained it because I cannot move the my cursor to show that. But if you see at the end of the line, it says icon as message box icon close parentheses as dialog result. So that dialog result is the same type of the variable message here that we created. Okay. Now we have to read this to make decision whether the user clicked yes or no. In order to do that, I wrote this little chunk of code. I'm going to add it here. So the dialog result has a yes or no option. So you can say dialog result yes. Then you can compare it with the message. If your message contains yes, then these two objects are the same. So in that case, I have to keep the window open. In order to keep the window open, you could use, for the first time actually I showed this to you, you could use this argument E, which is part of the event form closing. This argument E contains some information about the window, about the current window you are in. The current window I'm in is main window. So if I say E.cancel, this is a Boolean property. If I say false, then it'll close the window. And if I say E.cancel is true, it'll keep it open. Okay. So let me show you first, then I get back here and I explain it one more time. So I have this one. Now I try to close this. Are you sure? No, I'm not. So it just remains. So once again, I try to close it. Are you sure? Yes. So I close it. So once again, message box show returns an object, which is dialog result. We create a variable message from type of dialog result, and then we assign it to the message box that show. This one contains this message object contains the button that they clicked. I clicked on that, either yes or either no. Then we can compare the result of that, which is in the message, with dialog results dot yes or no. You could do even no as well. It doesn't matter. So if the dialog results, if the message, maybe it's better to write it this way. So maybe it makes more sense if I put this one here instead of putting it in. So if my message is yes, dialog result yes, then then close the window. In order to close the window, we have to use this argument that by default or by the system basically passed to this event, the event form closing. And E contains some information about about the main window, and E is an object. The type of the object is form closing event. So and it has a property of cancel. If I set this property, which is the boolean, to false, the window gets closed, and if I set it to true, it still stay open. So that's how we can handle that. I think overall, if you would like to do the same, this code wouldn't change in any program. So if you wish to have the same capability later on in your program, all you need to do just have it saved somewhere and copy and paste it in the code. The only thing is you need to know how it works. But the code pretty much more or less remains the same. So this is the end of my fourth lecture. I will not post any other lectures for this week. I think we covered enough material. We are in the middle or close to the end of the chapter 7. There are one important part left, which is the passing the variable, which I can explain it next week. And please study that and then review the code next time when I see you. If you have any question, we can talk about that. And please do the assignment and upload it to the Dropbox. So you have two assignments. One assignment is your project, which is due next week. And I think I put it on either Wednesday or Friday. I don't remember it, but I think it's Wednesday. So work on that. And also I put some questions, so fill it up as a quiz, kind of small questions. Fill it up, type it in the Word document, and upload it in the same Word document that I put it there, and upload it in Dropbox. And one more thing for those of you who want to take the exam will be on Wednesday next week. So prepare, read, and Monday we're going to review some of the stuff that I'm going to ask you in the exam. And if you have any question about these lectures, please send me an email as much as I can. I'll answer your email. And sorry about if the quality is bad. I did my best to find the best equipment to do that, but I'm sure there are some limitations. And please review it and let me know if you have any questions. And see you next week.